All right, listen up, because this is an amazing story.
It's the most amazing thing that happened to me when I was younger. I was 7 years old. I had just learned how to swim. That meant I could go down to the pond and fish by myself. I went down the first time. I went fishing by myself. I caught about 25 fish in a row. And I could not believe it, because nobody else in the world had ever done that before. And I didn't know what was going on. I talked to my uncle. He asked me all these questions. What time of day was it? Middle of the day. So was there any breeze? Or no breeze. He said, what about the pond? Deep or shallow? I said, shallow. He said, well, my goodness sakes, the water was heating up. That's why all the fish came to the surface. You have to have cold water. It's more oxygen for the fish. He says that they couldn't get enough oxygen. They come up to the surface. You got all the fish right on the surface. You caught them all. And so that's how he understood it. Me, I thought I was a good fisherman. And I pulled that last fish that I caught, and the only reason it was the last one is because it was the granddaddy fish out of the pond. He was huge, about twice the size of the others. Big old catfish. And I could not wait. At that point, I said, okay, I'm home. I put those things down on the stringer, ran home, put them out in the front yard, ran in and got Mom and Dad. I said, come and look at this. And my dad looked out that, I had them all in a neat row in the front yard. And he looked at those fish. He looked right back in my face. I'll never forget this. He said, fish. My mother was mad at me for catching them all too. She's going, what'd you catch this many fish for? And I said, I thought you were supposed to catch fish when you could catch them. She said, who's going to clean them? She said, I had to clean them. So she showed me how. And I cleaned all those fish, and it was ugly and gross. And I had a long thing to tell you about that, but I don't have time. I took that big long fish off that bottom of that stringer. Listen to this, man. I was about to clean that fish. He was huge, too, and he was still alive, just barely breathing, just going like this. So I got my knife just like she told me, and I was about to poke him underneath the chin, and I'm holding him up like this. Darn thing was looking at me with his eye, and I'm like 7 years old. I couldn't kill him, and watch me do it. No way, I'm not going to do that. So we used to have these big barrels underneath the gutter, and I put that fish in the rain barrel back there. He started swimming around in circles back there, and I totally forgot about him for 3 days. After 3 days, I went back. I was in my bunk bed. I'll never forget it. I'm about to fall asleep. Oh yeah, what about that fish? Down the stairs I go. Went over there, he's still swimming around in circles in that rain barrel. So I said, we don't want to fish in this rain barrel either, do we? So I managed to catch him with my bare hands, threw him down on the front yard, and I said, I'll clean it tomorrow, and I'll be going, back to bed. So I went back to bed. This is the most amazing thing. You know how dew comes up on the grass at night, how wet the grass is in the morning? I woke up the next morning, sure enough, that fish was still alive. He was living on the dew of the grass, soaking wet. And I went in and got my brother Chris. At that point, I said, come out here and look at this fish, he won't die. So he's like always busting around. He was older than me, 9 years old. So, okay, Chris, so he's looking at that fish, and he said, go over there. I went about 3-4 feet over. He pointed that fish at me, went on his tail. That fish, sure enough, went right over to me. I turned around, went right over to Chris. We're playing with a fish in this front yard, back and forth. Most amazing thing. Anyway, it was ridiculous, but he started to die real quick because the sun started coming out, his skin was getting all dried out and everything. And then quick, put it back in that rain barrel. We're having a good time with that fish. So we put it back in that rain barrel. Sure enough, he started swimming around in circles again. We got him back out, started playing with him again. Now, people laugh about this, but you know what? Most people who laugh about it know that there is a certain kind of catfish that's called like a walking catfish or something. They told me about it. And they'll jump out of a pond that's on one side of the road, right? And they'll go across into water on the other side. So we know that that's what kind of fish this was, because we got that fish. Believe it or not, we started thinking we could train him. So we did. In and out of the water. Every time he started to almost die, back in the water he goes. Well, we did that all day long. My parents started paying attention. Next day, we got him up, started in again. Kept him in the water if he needed it. After 4 days, you guys, that fish got to be where sure enough he could stay out of water up until about lunchtime. I know. And then we would get him back out and play with him all afternoon. He was like, he was a pet. We called him Homer. We gave him a name, Homer, our pet catfish. Sure enough. And we put a leash around his neck like a dog. My parents' friends started coming over. Where's that fish? Is he dead yet? All these things. No, we'd show him no. He'd be flopping around on the ground. And we did. Now, don't you think that's amazing? Yeah. It was amazing. And all summer we played with Homer. And I'll just tell you one thing that happened, because this was the most fun thing, because I'll never forget it for sure. We used to go down to this little country store to get our penny candy. We got down there one day, of course Homer would come with us down there, and all the farmers knew it and everything. They'd feed him. They fed him those flies. They'd be catching flies and cracking peanuts and everything. So we're down there in this little circus truck. Now, I don't know if they come around here, but up in western North Carolina, there's this little circus when I was growing up called Buddy's Circus. And they would set up in people's pastures. They had a van. It was just two guys. Set up a little tent. People would come, pay a little money, and see all their stuff. Well, they were just getting gas there that day, and one of them saw Homer on the ground, and sure enough, you know he wanted him. He came over and he was looking at us, looking at the ground, and trying to be kind of cool about it. He says, "What about that fish right there? Does anybody know anything about that fish?" I said, "Yes, sir, that's mine." He said, "Where'd you get that thing? It's still alive." You know, his eyes were popping out of his head. And I told him the whole story about how we trained him in and out of the water, in and out of the water like that. That man, he reached in his pocket, pulled out a huge wad of money. And he pulled off half that money and shoved it in my face. He says, "Buddy, you give me that fish right now and I'll give you this much money." It was all his ticket money, you know, from his circus. Some $20 bills to him. He didn't even count it. Now, what would you have done? I lunged for that money. I said, "Yes, sir, give me the money." And this farmer, his friend of my dad, he jumped up and says, "Oh, don't you sell that fish." No, sirree, I'm not letting you sell that fish. I'm not your father, but you're not selling that fish. Now, you listen here, that's your pet. You love your pet. You don't sell your pet. So he wouldn't let me sell him, and I know. Back in those days, I'd have been so rich. Anyway, listen what happened to Homer. It was time to go back to school in September. We didn't have to go to school till September back then. First day of school, I take off out the door. My mother says, "You're going to have to let Homer go." I said, "No, I'm not." And we got this big argument. I just took off running. Homer saw me leave. He started it right after. Like he did. I said, "Homer, go back. It's different today. I've got to go to school." But he was just in the habit, so I took off running. Got all the way up to the schoolyard around two corners. And I kept expecting him to arrive at the schoolyard. I was talking to my friends, and they were getting ready for the first day of school. And he never did arrive at the schoolyard. And I kept waiting for him, and then I started getting worried about him. And I thought, oh my gosh. I went back around those two corners, and I looked down that long, straight stretch of road. I couldn't see him anywhere. I thought, oh my gosh, I lost my fish. So I said, well, look, I don't care if I'm late for school, because I'm just going to go back and see if I can. And now that I think about it, of course, it's a stupid idea, but I thought maybe he went back home, you know, because he knew the area and everything. But I mean, he was just a fish. So anyway, I'm running back down the road. I'm looking on both sides of the road. I couldn't see him anywhere. And I'm getting more and more worried. And I came across this bridge. Sure enough, there was a creek right there underneath the road. I came across this bridge, old bridge, with these old rotten boards and everything. And I ran across that bridge, and sure enough, there was this big hole in that bridge. And I went, oh my gosh, look at that. I got down on my knees. And I looked down in that hole in the water, and sure enough, down there in the water, there was my pet catfish Homer, and he had drowned it. That's a story about my pet fish Homer. I hope you like it. And just when you get home, if you wouldn't mind explaining to your children what it is to spin a yarn, that would be a good idea, because there is a difference between telling a lie and spinning a yarn.